Today, we need to talk about how self-abandonment is literally destroying your potential. I've had so many conversations over the past few days with my clients about self-abandonment and how it affects their potential. And it's been a very eye-opening moment for a lot of them, which is why I was like, okay, perfect. I need you to hear this message because it's been resonating with a lot of my clients. And I just know it's going to resonate with you because you are someone that wants more from life. And I want you to want more from life. And it was so interesting. The other day I posted a TikTok, and on that TikTok, I was like, it was about I was talking about how if I wanted an unproductive day, here's what I would do. Oh no, actually, sorry. I talked about here's the foods that I would eat if I wanted to improve my potential or increase my potential. And literally someone commented and was just like, why would anybody want to increase their potential? And I was shook by that because I'm like, you live this life once. Literally, this is what you're living right now. This is all you get. And there isn't a second try, a rerun, honey. This is all it. And if you're not taking this life that you have seriously, and stepping into your potential doesn't just mean you want to have $1 billion business. Cool if you do, but it could also mean you just wanting to be the best mother that you want to be, or you just wanting to live a life that is aligned with happiness and peace and calm. That means you maximizing your potential. And the reason that you should want to do that is because this is your one life. And I truly think that if you are not looking at how you can maximize your potential on a day-to-day basis, you are not taking your life seriously enough. And that is the importance of this, because if you want anything great in your life, that requires you to maximize your potential. And again, this isn't just you working hard and hustling and wanting the money goals. That's for sure a part of that if you want that. But maximizing your potential can look very different in different areas of your life. And I think that we should all strive for that because that's what makes a fulfilling life. And screw mediocrity. You are here on this channel watching this because you don't want to be mediocre. And if you don't want to be mediocre, that means that you need to start taking yourself seriously. And not just even yourself, but your needs, your wants, your desires. And that's what we're going to talk about today, is how this piece about self-abandonment, how the fact that you are not taking your desires, your dreams, your needs seriously is actually holding you back from the life that you truly want. If you're new to this channel, my name is Dr. Bisleen Atley. I'm a naturopathic doctor, and I teach high achievers how they can optimize their brain and body so that they can unlock their next level of success. And I'm such a big believer that when you are, feeding your body the right things, when you feel healthy, you feel good in your body, and then your mind is flourishing, that's how you truly unlock the levels of success, and you just keep rising up in life. And that is what I truly, truly want for you, because I've been in a place where I've had chronic depression for 5 years, and I know what life feels like to live from that place. And I know that there's this whole other part of you that is yearning, and you can see your highest potential and you want to step into it, but you don't know how. And truly starting to work on your mind and body and optimizing these things is that door that unlocks everything that you've ever wanted in life. And I've seen that even in my own end. So let's get into what the topic of today is going to focus on, which is all about how do you not abandon yourself so that you can truly access that limitless potential that lies deep within you. What I really want you to understand in today's video is that self-trust isn't just a mindset thing. Self-trust is also a body thing. And what starts to happen is that when we have consistently over time abandoned our needs for the needs of other people, we actually destroy our own self-trust. And when we destroy our own self-trust, we actually decrease our capacity to handle risks, to be resilient, and to go after our dreams because we feel like we literally can't trust ourselves. And I want to start off by sharing a personal story of mine. For me, an area of my life where this has always stuck out in is our relationships. For as long as I can remember, I have always abandoned my needs for another man's needs. To be honest with you, it's not any of my partner's faults that I've had in the past before, but truly it's my fault. And I just didn't have the awareness of what I was doing and how to show up in relationships. And I was showing up in the way that I thought best. And a couple of aspects and areas of this too, right, is I've grown up in a culture, so I'm South Asian, I'm Indian. I speak Punjabi, my religion is Sikh, and I've grown up in a culture where all I've seen are women sacrificing their needs for men. And I truly feel like it's people of my generation who are finally starting to break this pattern of, women also starting to show up for themselves and their needs. And so for me at a very young age, love was represented by sacrificing myself for another man's needs. And that's just what I thought was appropriate and the right thing to do. And it's literally not until this age that I've truly realized that all I've been doing is abandoning my needs for someone else's needs. And what had started to happen is that just over time, this just eroded at my self-trust, my ability to show up for myself, my ability to believe in myself. And I, to this day, still do struggle with it. And something I am working on is not needing the validation of others in order to determine what's the next best path for me to go on. I feel like my entire life, I've always looked at external validation, at external support to tell me where I should go in life instead of being able to build that trust within my own. It's like I needed that person outside of me to constantly just tell me what to do, where to go. And the truth is that, when you constantly look at the outside world to determine where you should go, what's the next step you should take, it really erodes away at your own self-trust. And I don't want you to be in that place. And I want you to really take a moment and step back. And maybe it's in your relationships, maybe it's in your career, maybe it's in other parts of your life, and really think about, do you constantly put yourself on the back burner? Do you have needs and wants and desires, but you constantly push those behind or in the back and tell yourself you're not deserving, or, you need to wait until XYZ and then you'll give yourself this thing, or, that you need to do this, and this first, and only then can you do this for yourself. And so just think about all the ways that you're potentially putting your needs and desires on the back end, or telling yourself that you don't deserve it right now in life. Because what's happening in these moments is that you are teaching your brain and body that you are not important. Like, really let that sink in for a second. And I think it's a little bit sad. And hey, I'm right there with you. So if you feel like this is eliciting and causing a lot of emotions to come up, I'm right there with you. Having these realizations, I've had them over the past few years, has brought up a lot for me as well emotionally. And it can be a lot to face internally when you just go like, holy shit, I didn't realize that I was constantly putting myself on the back end for everybody else around me. And it can be such a painful thing to accept and just face head on. But it's truly one of the most important steps that you can take, because when you can finally just face the fact that yes, you have been abandoning yourself, you can take that power back. Because if you keep teaching your brain and body that you don't matter, then you know what else doesn't matter? Your goals. You reaching your potential. If you fail to meet your basic daily needs, like I know one of my patients, she is a teacher and she has the hardest time, for example, just meeting some of her basic needs, like eating breakfast and, eating lunch, literally peeing when she needs to pee, or drinking water. And honestly, I find this to be very true of people in helping professions who are just, constantly putting other people's needs in front of theirs. And she wasn't even able to meet these most basic needs of her body. When her body was screaming for food, she would ignore it. When her bladder was literally full AF and she needed to pee, she would ignore it. If you can't meet even your most basic needs, how are you ever going to be brave enough to take a big risk? Like leaving that relationship, like quitting your job and starting a business, like moving across the world to a new city to start a new life because that's just what, is calling to you and your heart's desire. You can't do that, because for years, all you've ever taught your body and your brain is that we can't trust ourselves, that we don't matter. And that's what it truly comes down to. This piece about self-abandonment is that you are teaching your brain and body every single day that you don't matter. And the truth is that you do. You matter so much. You matter so much to this world. Your dreams matter. Your desires matter. Every inch and piece of you matters. And, as much as I want the words that I'm saying to truly sink in to your mind and body, the truth is that until you truly start to feel that on your own, you're not going to feel that way. And you need to take your power back. It's time that you start taking your power back. The issue with self-abandonment too is that your nervous system can actually become regulated to this habit. And once our brain and body are used to a certain habit, right? If self-abandonment is just who you are and what you constantly do and what you've trained your brain and body to do, then what ends up happening is that you pull yourself back to that, because that's just what your identity is tied into. And something that I want you to also think about and reflect on is, where does this need to abandon yourself come from? So for a lot of people, it can come from, right, them not wanting to disrupt relationships, or them needing people to see them in a certain way, or them feeling like they're not deserving of good things in their life, or their desires of actually manifesting and coming to life. And so what these people end up doing is that then you just continue abandoning yourself because you're benefiting from it in some way. And so that's the first thing I really want you to think about too, is how are you benefiting from self-abandonment? I know for me, right, if by me constantly abandoning myself, it would mean that the relationship would run smoothly, nobody else in my life would be inconvenienced, and I would make sure that people in my life wouldn't leave me and they would stay beside me. So in a way, that's how I was benefiting from it. All my relationships were dependent on me abandoning myself so that they could function and run well, even though it was literally crushing me and killing me inside internally. So you need to understand how you're benefiting from this certain habit and way of being, because I promise you, you are benefiting from it in some sort of way, even though you don't want to admit it. And it's from that place you need to look at, how can you benefit from committing to yourself instead, from meeting your needs, and what would be the greater benefits of meeting your needs that you can start tying this to, so that it's easier to just break out of that self-abandonment comfort zone. And you also have to understand too, is that initially your brain is going to fight back hard. When you start to meet your needs, you're going to feel guilty and selfish. And I have to remind my patients of this all the time. My patients who are trying to not, like people please anymore, and they're trying to meet their needs. And I'll always get that question of like, I feel so guilty. I thought this was supposed to feel good. I thought that like meeting my own needs was going to make me feel so good and bring me so much joy. And I always have to remind them and say, yes, I promise you it will. But what's happening right now is you're going from that self-abandonment identity to the self-commitment identity and meeting your needs identity. And what's going to happen in the meantime is that your brain, my friend, is going to fight back so hard. And your brain is going to be like, what are you doing? Like, Jessica, we don't do this. Like, we don't meet our needs. We need to abandon ourselves. And this is the only way to feel safe in our world and to feel like people are gonna love us. That's what your brain is doing. And so your brain is gonna pull you back. And so it's in those moments, it's about showing up anyways. It's about setting those boundaries, meeting your needs anyways, because what's going to happen is that initially your brain is going to fight back and be like, Jessica, no, please, like, let's not, this is scary, this is frightening, I feel bad, we're selfish, and we're shellfish. That's funny. We are selfish, not shellfish. And your brain's going to fight back. And so what you want to do in those moments is that no matter what happens, you want to continue to show up for yourself and meet those needs anyways, because then what's going to happen over time is your brain's going to be like, oh, we can meet our needs and still be loved. We can meet our needs and still have really fulfilling relationships in our life. Okay, this is great. I can meet my needs and be happy and have this. This is awesome. And that becomes your new comfort zone. And then what's going to happen is that when you don't meet your needs, your brain's going to be like, whoa, Jessica, what are you doing? We got to meet our needs. You weren't honest with yourself in that moment. And then the table reverses, because now your identity is tied to someone who meets their needs. And so this is that process of, really meeting your needs and making sure that you're not abandoning yourself. And it is terrifying. It is so terrifying standing up for yourself. It is the scariest thing to break out of that comfort zone. I've been there, done that. I've had to let go of so many relationships with people that I know in my life because I needed to start standing up and showing up for myself instead of abandoning myself. And it was the most nauseatingly terrifying thing that I had to do. But I also had to take a step back and look at that vision of that beautiful highest potential of myself, that Bisleen that I could imagine. And I knew she didn't abandon herself. And I knew that the relationships that she had in her life right now were not the relationships that she was meant to be in. Because the relationships that she's in are the relationships that nourish her, fulfill her, and aren't created in a foundation of her abandoning herself. And when you start to take those steps, when you stop abandoning yourself, life honestly becomes 1,000 times more beautiful. It seriously does. And that just relationship that you build with yourself becomes so incredible. And this is something that I've been practicing for a few years now, and I can tell you, I have seen the direct effect of me starting to support myself, of me showing up for myself, of me no longer abandoning myself, and my ability to take risks, my ability to step into my potential, my ability to make an impact and grow my business. I have seen the direct correlation of that. When I stand up for my needs, my wants, fulfill myself, I take bold risks. I show up even more magnetic and energetic and incredible in life, and most importantly, trusting myself, because I know I got myself. And that's the feeling that I want from you. Because when you know you got yourself, you will not stay in relationships that don't fulfill you. You will not stay in career paths that don't fulfill you. You will not stay in friendships that don't fulfill you, because you will love yourself so much to be able to step away, to be able to move forward. And that is the level of freedom, of courage, of confidence that I want you to have. And you do that by not abandoning yourself and your needs.